Hey guys, welcome back to episode 7 of Calculated Chaos. Today I'm here with Lydia Des Dolles and we're in the Dublin Combat Academy. So let's get into it. So,
hello, how are you? Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you very much for having us.
You're welcome. I'm just finished training, so this is why my hair looks like this.
Don't worry about it. So could you just quickly introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Lydia Des Dolles.
Yeah.
I'm the creator of MMA Connect TV, which is a combat sports media platform. I don't like to say media outlet because that would assume that I'm a journalist or qualified. I'm just someone who's very passionate about martial arts and combat sports. But yeah, it's a lot of content that's centered around video. So I follow the journey of amateur and professional Irish fighters, UK fighters, and now I'll be moving into working with more European-based fighters and American fighters down the line.
Amazing. Yeah. And how did this whole journey begin? Like, where did your whole martial art journey begin?
I mean, I know we spoke before we started recording about, I'd done another podcast with Paddy Holohan.
Shamecast, brilliant podcast.
Thank you very much, thank you.
It's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, on that we spoke about how I was in music before I got into martial arts, and you know, I had a crazy 7-8 years where I was singing in a band, traveling the world.
We'll get into that later on as well, because I think that's amazing. That's an amazing story.
I know people are like, "What? You were doing that?" It's it seems like such a lifetime ago. I was a completely different person, but so when I finished in the band, I was kind of like going through a bit of a trying to understand what had happened. You know, this band that I was in for 8 years had fallen apart, and I was just looking for something completely different. I wanted to change. Subconsciously at the time, I didn't really know that I was looking for something maybe a little bit more, something to kind of ground me, or just I wanted a complete change of lifestyle, and I didn't really know how to give myself the tools to do that. And a friend of mine, her boyfriend had suggested that I started jiu-jitsu based off of being drunk and wrestling people when they're out drunk, all the lads that I'm friends with. I'd be wrestling in the middle of a street, after a couple of drinks. He was like, you need to do jiu-jitsu, you'd be very good at it. So I did. I went and I basically just stopped drinking, socializing with people that maybe weren't a positive influence in my life, and just sort of cut out, I suppose, all the negative living. And went to see a therapist, and dealt with some maybe issues from when I was growing up, or different things that I felt I needed to kind of address. And so I just kind of cut myself off from everything for about 1.5 years, and I just done jiu-jitsu, just trained, started eating clean, started losing weight, met new people that were kind of on the same sort of journey as I was, I suppose. And then that led me to, obviously from being in the band, and I'd done, I had managed us for a long time in the band before we signed kind of big record deals. And then when obviously big contracts come through and stuff, you sort of bring in new management and different things, and they look after everything. So I had done a lot of social media and PR and stuff on the back of that. And it got back to someone that had worked in a promotion called BAMA, which was an MMA promotion that used to have fights in the 3 Arena. And they were like, "Oh, would you be interested in giving us a hand with social media on fighters and different stuff?" So up until that point, I really was only kind of new fighters that were of maybe a jiu-jitsu base, because it was what I was around. I didn't really know that many fighters that were in MMA or Muay Thai or whatever else it might be. So when I started at BAMA, I was kind of overwhelmed by, I suppose, the process of the fight night and the athlete, and how they how they prepare, and all this weeks of work sort of just comes to sort of this moment in a Saturday evening at 5 or 6, 7 o'clock, whatever it is, where 9,000 people are going to watch you do your thing, and absolutely mill some lad or some girl out, but or try your best to or be on the receiving end of it. And I was just really captivated by, not only from obviously the fighting element, but just it's very emotional. Do you know what I mean? If you go into a warm-up room in an event, whether it's a community show or whether it's at the 3 Arena, it's a very weird, I'm a bit of an empath. I kind of, I vibe off energy and stuff, do you know what I mean? So it's very weird to go into that, and, you can really see, the fighter that will win, that will lose, that will in those moments. It's a very telling thing. So to be able to now be at a position where, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, like the process of MMA Connect TV is that I go to events, I'm hired by the promoter to go, and I basically showcase their entire event. So it's showing people at home, it's kind of partnering with the idea of social media, you know, so social media has completely taken over from television at the moment. Nobody watches, you know, not a lot of people watch terrestrial TV anymore. It's all about Netflix, it's all about you know, downloading films and it's all watching stuff on your phone. So I knew that to get access to people, or to be able to give people a window into what goes on, so many people make the mistake of going, oh, I'm going to do pay-per-view, or I'm going to do, you know, try and get like regional TV to get involved, or whatever it might be. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And down the line, it could potentially be, you know, very interesting or whatever. But you want something quick and fast, and the only way to do that is with social media. So I knew that there was a niche in the market to give someone the opportunity, like to sit at home and to be having a couple of beers on a Saturday night, and you know the kids are in bed, or like you've no money to go out with the lads and you're just sat at home, but then you're able to tune into MMA Connect TV and you're able to see exactly what's going down from a particular event that we're at, you know, or if you have friends fighting, you're able to see them from it. Like so many people sit in the crowd and watch MMA Connect, and go, oh, such and such, like he must be up next, he's warming up, and then they'll message me, oh, when's he up? You know what I mean? So there's kind of like this community of like everyone is sort of connected, and hence MMA Connect TV. And we all sort of like, you know, I feel like it's almost like being someone's eyes. It's like being, you know, the Google this. Was, you know, like the Google Lens, like the Snapchat filter where you can like put on your things and like they can see your Snapchat. It's that idea, you know what I mean? It's getting people to see the sort of the structure and the kind of the life that these fighters are living. You know what I mean? And from that, then it obviously developed from just being that to kind of, I suppose, having a more of a responsibility to fighters, in that, you know, they can, the people that we work with, the fighters that I work with, they get to I suppose put their trust in me and trust that I'm going to produce some kind of content that will allow them to help promote themselves, or to you know, they can use that as like, they can go to a promoter and go, oh, you know, if we do this, if we do that, I can get MMA Connect TV involved, or whatever it might be, you know. So so that's where we're at. So it's like 3 years January, 4 years, 3 or 4 years, but I mean really it's the last year and a half that things have sort of exploded and taken off. And from it then, obviously, you know, I got the gig with Virgin Media, which was massive. How it happened was I won an award for this like the All Ireland Business Summit, and gave me an award for Rising Star in New Media. And you know, at the time I was like, what? I was like, I'm nominated. I was like, how strange. I was like, I looked at like the people who were in my category, you know, it was like, I don't want to say like proper businesses, but that's how it felt or whatever. And so it was just very strange especially when I won, when I was at, when they called it out, I was like, what? I was like, are you sure? And then to find out that it was like the first first time that combat sports, I suppose, were even nominated, like that were recognised, you know. And what they had said was that it was that, you know, I had built something that was accessible for people who weren't involved in combat sports, which was always the key detail, is that like you could be a fan of fight sports or combat sports, but you could also be someone who has no interest in it whatsoever, or it's just your boyfriend or your girlfriend's into it, but you can still sit back and enjoy the interviews that we do or enjoy the coverage. And then it was through that just growing, Virgin Media were like, you know, you've got a good personality, let's get you in and do a show with us and see how you get on. And that was in August last year, and now I'm kind of part of the furniture in there. Well, kind of. But I'm doing probably like 2 or 3 shows a month. We rotate the panel. And Elaine Crowley obviously presents it, which has been great. Like that's been a learning curve as well in terms of, you know, knowing how to like speak to camera and to know how to, you know, speak and look, and you know, you think you sit a certain way when you're like doing some like a filming, and then when you're actually in front of an actual TV camera and you watch it back, you realise how different it looks than what you thought, you know. So just little things like that, and then obviously advice and stuff on, you know, business things, and getting to be able to go into like a TV studio, TV company, massive media outlet like Virgin, and be like, what do you think? I got this in, like, should I do this? You know, it's obviously very grateful for it. Yeah,
it's funny the way that you've played both sides of it, as in like you're in the TV studio, like the conventional TV side, but also you built your whole business on social media, you know, like it's and like it's a bit, I don't know, like how do you find that? Like, do you like, I suppose like it's kind of a cool experience in the whole TV side, but would you like to keep going down that route, or would you like to go full time with MMA Connect TV, or which way would you like to go, or could you balance both?
Well, I can definitely balance both, because I am balancing both. But it's like, it's conflicted, you know. I feel so attached to MMA Connect TV, and it's like even days where I'm like, you know, I take time, like, right, you have to give, like, I'm at the moment, the only reason I can do this with you is because I took 4 weeks off, you know. I literally cancelled our events for this month because I hadn't taken time off since Christmas. And a lot of people think you go to the show, you film for 7-8 hours, and then that's it, that's all you do. But there's a whole process. I mean, you'll know, you have to edit, you have to like make sure things look right, you have to, like, you know, make sure that the video looks good, then you have to write the content, then you have to post it. There's a whole process that goes into it. It's very time consuming. But I mean, I always said we started doing documentaries as well. Like, they're short, they're 4 parts, they're 15 minutes long, and that's sort of like I done an interview with an actor called John Connors, who's in Car Book Gangsters. He's playing it was in Love Hate, and he is doing a biopic. He's playing Big Joe Egan. And when I went out and I interviewed him at his camp in Daragh, like Coolock, it's just out in North Dublin, and we done the interview. It was like about 45 minutes long. But afterwards, I just sat there and like spoke about, you know, doing the documentaries and this and that, and you know, because obviously he's got massive experience in doing documentaries and film and TV, and just got some advice off him, gave me some like tips, and you know, we just spoke about it really, and ended up staying in touch, and like are constantly just kind of like back and forth to each other with different things. And then from that, I was like, okay, I really want to focus on documentaries, but I want to do them properly. I want to do them with a production company, with, you know, get them on TV, as opposed to, I think MMA Connect TV was the gateway for me to understand that, like, there was something that I wanted to do, and I found them interesting. So that's something that I'm writing treatments at the moment. So which is basically like, I suppose, like an essay of what you want to do, or what the documentaries want to be about, and then you pitch them to TV companies, and they say, oh, okay, that looks really interesting, we'll give you X amount of money and you go off and make it, and then we'll put it on TV or whatever it might be. It's not that easy, but it's in a perfect world, it's not easy. So that's something that I want to do. And then obviously, like, I love the Elaine Show because it's fun, it's different, it's not what I do like in the day job. It's you know, it's very lighthearted, and sometimes there's obviously, you know, conversations that we have that are you know, close to your heart, and we talk about mental health quite a bit, we talk about relationships quite a bit, so that's good as well, and it's opening up a new audience for me as well, you know. So like that sort of, you know, obviously with MMA Connect TV, the majority of people who watch it is men. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just the analytics. This is the way it is. It's like men 18 to 30, you know. So it's good to be able to connect with maybe a female audience as well on the opposite side. Yeah.
So we'll take it back then to the beginning of your career. I really want to get into the music thing, because like when I first contacted you months ago, I know
that's how long it took to get me on the show. It took me months in advance.
Like, because I wanted to get you on the podcast because I thought you had an interesting story with you building MMA Connect TV, and I kind of want to get people that, I don't know, people that maybe people wouldn't generally think of. I want to have different guests, and we've had a female go-karter who's been signed now with it's e-karting over in Italy, so she's like run by Tesla. Wow. She's from Galway, like, so like, you know,
no way.
But, like,
and it's run by Tesla.
Yeah, so like they're funding, but she was the first female signed to the team, because apparently, I didn't even know this, motorsports isn't really distinguished between men and women. They're all in together because obviously cars and stuff, but like, just kind of maybe have a bit of a different aspect to the whole thing.
What's her name?
Familia.
Oh
yeah,
I met. That's so strange. That's so
You've met her too?
Yes, she was on the Elaine Show with us.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because they were doing a thing on Mondello. I was like, I bet you I know her. Yeah.
No way, I didn't even know she did that.
Yeah, she did. There was like 4 or 5 of them that came out. Yeah, with Nicola, the girl who's just pure as well. Can't remember her surname, but they all came out and they were guests on the Elaine Show. So I was on the panel the day we met them. Yeah,
she's a very interesting story. I thought she was very, very interesting as well.
Yeah.
But
and we bonded because I was able, they were saying about how there's like not a lot of support for women in that sport, and I was like, well, I kind of understand it. I mean, women in combat sports is obviously, especially in MMA, is massive.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have boxing and you have Muay Thai as well, but in media and print media and TV, it's not very common to see, women. Well, you see a certain type. You see women who are like, in a lovely dress, and it's like they just say the results or whatever it is. But it's a very small window for people who kind of are creative and have a different path. So when they came on, I was like, this is amazing. Let's chat.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so we kept in touch. That's wild that you.
Yeah, and I've only done this episode 7, so I haven't done that many.
Lucky number 7.
Yeah, but no, it's an amazing story, and I think people actually really enjoyed that. The fact, that it was so different, and like you said, like MMA, it actually isn't too bad, and in the whole scheme of things, it's not too bad for the gender gap, hasn't it's like. I definitely think, obviously Dana White said years ago famously, women will never fight in the UFC, and then of course, like everything he says, the total opposite happens.
Who believes that man anymore? Nobody.
And then of course Ronda Rousey comes along and then just changes the sport forever. But that's not that you actually know who she is as well. I didn't even know she was on the Elaine Show.
Always, yeah, she was.
But so then how did you get into music? So you kind of like, how did that all come about?
I joined the band. I'd say I was probably like early 20s. I moved to Dublin. I'm originally from Waterford.
Okay.
And I moved to Dublin when I moved to London when I was 19, and I lived there for 7 months. And when I was over there, I auditioned for loads of different bands. That was my thing. So when I moved to London, joined a band, get famous.
Yeah. Easy.
So when I tried out for different bands, like punk bands and like metal bands, like the weirdest bands. Like I auditioned for a heavy metal, like a female vocal. It was like kind of like they wanted me to sing like pretty much opera, but it was over like heavy metal. And I was just like, okay, this doesn't feel like that right. So I sang with different people for a while and it didn't really work out, and then I ran out of money, and I was 19. I didn't want to live in London. You need to either have money or have a good job that you can afford to live there. Like the rents at that time were kind of like Dublin now. It was like madness. But I moved home, and a friend of mine was like, I'm going to move to Dublin, and I have a twin room, like there's an extra bed in the room, like come on, let's just move to Dublin for a couple of months and like, let's see how we get on. So I was like, alright, cool. So like there was like 7 of us like moved into this massive house, and we just had this great time, and I started working in Tower Records, which is a record store in Dublin, and just met like loads of people that were kind of involved in music, and started going to gigs and started like hanging out with people that were on the scene, I suppose. And I was at a house party, and I met Daniel, who would be the person that I set up the band with, and we went from a house party to a place called the Chancery, which is on the Quays. It's an early house. Okay. So it was like 7 o'clock in the morning after being awake one night, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a singer. And he was like, I want to start a band with you. And I was like, what? And then he was like, let's start a band. So it was like this mad thing.
Yeah.
And he stuck to it. He came to my apartment about a week later with like mics and a laptop and recording equipment. He's like, right, you're going to sing on this song that I have. And I was like, no, I can't. I was so shy. Like, I didn't even like my voice at the time. And I was so embarrassed. I sat in my wardrobe on the floor, and he put the mics in, and then I sang with like head stuff. But so we started seeing each other. So we used to always have this running joke where it was like, he only like said, I have to start a band because like he wanted to spend more time with me. But so we went out with each other for about 5 years that we were in the band. And he was in other bands at the time, and then it just became really apparent that the work that we were doing, we had this sort of really good dynamic where it was like a male and female vocal. We looked quite cool, we were different. It was like everything was sort of the same in the Irish music scene. It was all like guys in tweed jackets and acoustic guitars, and then it was all like leather jackets and like really harsh. But there was kind of something missing, you know. There was a lack of. Now there's loads of girls in bands, but at that time there wasn't really that. You know, there was a cool. Obviously, there was September Girls. There was a band called Stagger Lee at the time. Right. They had these really cool girls that were doing great things, but you know, there wasn't that sort of like someone who was like cool and you know, like that. I suppose didn't like give a shit or whatever. You know what I mean? About like, I just want to be in a rock and roll band. And I was like heavily influenced by Oasis and Courtney Love and Brody Dahl, the Distillers, and stuff like that. So, we ended up like recording the songs that we were recording. We were doing them at home, and Daniel was incredible musician, still is, and you know, we started releasing them for free on MySpace at the time. You know, when MySpace Music came out, that's how long ago it was. And you'd have like your MySpace profile, and then you'd have three little, you'd have 3 slots for 3 songs, 3 tracks or whatever. And we just used to put up songs like every month or every 2 months. And loads of people just got, you know, then the radio station started picking up on it. You know, local radio were like, oh God, I heard the song. And then I think because we were sort of independent and we weren't really touring, it kind of turned into this little kind of underground cool thing. Like people would go to house parties like, wait and hear this band, Sweet Jane, you know what I mean? And people were like, oh, they're kind of like the Jesus and Mary chain. Oh, they're kind of like the Velvet Underground because they're called Sweet Jane. And oh my God, it's like Oasis with a female lead singer, and it's like Fleetwood Mac. So all this kind of stuff started bubbling away. We started touring, and then we were doing that for a couple of years, and then we obviously got approached by a record label, which was Rika's at the time. And you know, that was like there was so many of our peers that were in bands that were struggling and trying to find a way to crack through and to get someone to back them. And money is always, you know, if people have money, they don't need record labels, or they don't need management, or they don't need, you know, in fighting, they don't need well, you always need a promoter, but they don't need to go into contracts where the promoter like gets this massive chunk of their purse or income or whatever it might be. So you're kind of like that age, and someone is saying to you, we're going to give you this money, we're going to put you on tour, we're going to put you into a proper studio, and you're like, God, this is amazing, like we're living the dream, we've made it. You know, little do you know. You're just like a little hamster on a big wheel. But yeah, so that's when I kind of stepped up a gear and we started touring. And you know, for all the good that it done us and all the memories that we made and, you know, the experiences that we had, it was also, you know, detrimental as well to the creativity of the band, and especially the relationships between us, especially me and Daniel. Obviously we broke up, you know, and that was traumatic. And obviously then you have to go to work every day with an ex-boyfriend, and, you know, obviously writing music is not something that, you know, so it would be like, he'd write a new song, I'll have this new song come in, and then I'd be like, that's about me. You wrote that about me, you know, it might not be the nicest lyrics, or, you know, then it could be the flip side, it could be something very like sweet, and, you know, you'd feel, you know, your heart would be broke then having to read it. But so we, you know, that was like 7-8 years, and I didn't think I thought I would just play music for the rest of my life, and then I would retire into the sunset and like a little ranch, and you know, with a guitar and spend my money. It didn't work out like that. You know, we obviously, the band ended after a certain amount of time, but and then that's how it led to it, you know what I mean? It was like it ended for I'd say like 8 years. Yeah, it was kind of weird because when we finished the band, we had an album that was ready to go. It was finished, it was done, and there was even more record labels that are involved now. The bigger record labels like Universal, Warner, you know what I mean, that were planning on releasing it, and you know, we were touring further afield. We were in America, we were in Singapore, so it was like that weird crunch time where you get to a certain level and it's like, now we need to focus and now you need to really drive on. But you're at that stage where you've been touring for like 5-6 years, and then, you know, you haven't had, we used to have time off, you know, it could be like 6-7 months, and we'd be on a tour bus and wherever it might be, and then we come home and we get a couple of days and you go on that. So you'd be on the session for 7 months because you're on tour, but then you get home and you're like, you want to see everyone, you want a little bit of normality. and you're burnt out. It's very hard. It's really hard to explain, and I think you can only really understand it if you're in a band, and it goes with anything. You have to be in it to understand it or to experience it. But people say to me all the time, tell me about that time, tell me about the band, explain to me about like why didn't it work. To the outside, people are like, well, this is the best they've ever been. They've got their stage show together. They've gotten, they're performing well, they're sounding great, they're writing really good music. Like, they're going to make it. Like, they're going to be U2. Do you know what I mean? And you're hearing this at the time. You're hearing this, and you're hearing record labels saying this, that, and you think you know best, and they think they know best, and it's just a very weird. You have to be very together, and to be together, you can't be drinking, you can't be taking drugs, you can't be. You have to be focused. I think for any advice that I give anyone that was not even in a band but chasing after anything that they want to do, any goal that they've set out for, you have to be healthy, like actually like train hard, like be consistent with, your mindset and meditation or whatever it might be, because it's only in that instance then that you have the ability to be able to, focus and get the job done, I suppose. If you're drinking, if you're like eating unhealthy, if you're not sleeping properly, if you're around negative people that are not driven or that don't understand what you want to do, it sucks the life out of you. Do you know what I mean? You can't focus, you can't regenerate, you can't progress, which is, some people don't like hearing that, but that's just the truth, and the path to success, or, whatever you label success as, whatever it is to you, is extremely lonely. Do you know what I mean? So when you find people that are on the same journey as you, it's very important to keep them close and to prosper together.
It seems it sounds very reminiscent of the whole social media thing of like, from the outside it looked like everything was perfect, everything's going well, and like, but on the inside you said everything was just falling apart, And how did that then take effect on your mental health? Like, how did that affect you? Towards the end, it was kind of mainly for your own health that you kind of ended up walking away and stuff. And
I wouldn't say that I walked away. I would say that I was fired. Okay. If I'm being honest with myself, that's ultimately what happened. Daniel gave me an ultimatum where he was like, I can't work with you anymore, and it's not getting any better. And I wasn't turning up for rehearsals at this time. I gotten into a relationship with another person at that time, and I just wanted to be with him. I just wanted to spend all my time with him, and I wanted to just I would be gone for days. I would just be with this new boyfriend, and I would just be like, just living life, just drinking wine and like meeting all his friends and socializing and just living in a bubble because I wanted to just forget. I wanted to deal with everything that was going on around me, and especially with the what was going on in the band and the relationships that were breaking down, not only just Daniel but everyone else that was in the band as well, because it's hurtful. It's a hard thing to step back and go, they don't like me anymore, I don't like them anymore, and it's people that you are family with. Do you know what I mean? It's a very and I never thought that it would end. I never thought that it would finish ever. I was like, we will just have this miserable relationship, but it will never end. And that was like sort of the bond that I kind of fed off. I was like, as bad as it is, I will never leave. And it took him having to say, I don't want to do this anymore, which I thought he would never say, and I was absolutely heartbroken when it happened. And then it was bitter, then it was angry. Do you know what I mean? Like, he can't do that to me. I made him. You say all this ridiculous stuff at the time, but in hindsight, we made each other, and we needed each other to prosper. And I would like to think that he would, recognise that to some degree now. We obviously haven't spoken since that time. No. But I would see his family quite a bit, but and we got on really well. And with the other guys that are in the band, like, on really well as well. But it's just one of those things. You just have to be mature about it and say, yeah, I messed up. I messed up that relationship, and this is a result of it. Like, he wasn't innocent in it. I wasn't innocent in it. We both played a part. Everyone played a part in it. But you're young and you don't really understand. So that's why it's very important for young people to just relax and take a step back and to assess the situations. But in terms of mental health, when I left, it was when you're on a wheel of being in a band and you're touring and it's this and that and it's all exciting and fast paced. When you come off that, it's not easy. Yeah. Not easy at all, because you are just a loser. Well, that's why I felt like a loser. You know, I was still drinking all the time. I was still partying like a rock star, but you're not a rock star. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I suppose it's the same way of being like, you know, oh, I'm a fighter. Yeah. But you don't fight. You say you're fighting, or you're like, oh, I'm training hard, you know, but you're on your phone like for 2 hours when you're in the gym. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing of like, I wasn't being real with myself. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't being real with myself and acknowledging that, okay, this is over and you need to now move on and do something else. So I done a few things. I started a new band and I started like writing, and I done like guest vocals on other people's records and stuff like that for about a year. And then I just couldn't do it anymore. I just fell out of love with the process of writing, and it just didn't bring me any joy anymore. Yeah. And I think when something stops bringing you joy or happiness, I think that's when you have to take a step back or walk away from it to maybe appreciate it or to get a new focus and to move on. But I definitely, around this time was when I broke up with that boyfriend, and then I moved out of the house that we were living in, and you know, went for that kind of change again. I need to like do something to change my living environment or my circle or whatever it might be. And that's when the jiu-jitsu came in. Yeah. You know, so jiu-jitsu changed everything for me in terms of like actually how I thought about things and how I responded to people, and you know, it gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me an understanding of life. It gave me a toolbox to deal with, you know, anxiety and depression. Like, I can't stress enough. The only people who will be able to tell you about the contrast will be my really close friends, my girlfriends that, you know, I grew up with, and a couple of close friends that have stuck with me and through all of this, you know. And that's when I think the warning signs kind of, when I did change and I did start jiu-jitsu and I did sort of make this transition. You know, I remember one of my best friends, Robbie, saying to me, you know, he was like saying, I'm so proud of you. He's like, you've made this complete transition, turned into a completely different person. And he was like, I'm so happy, because there was a point where I didn't think I could be your friend anymore. Oh. And again, it was that thing of like, I had no idea. I was so oblivious and so caught up in my own world. That I didn't understand that it was starting to affect, you know, other people around me, and that was very hard to deal with, especially when you're out of it. So he's saying something to you that was gone and past, and you're like, God, I had no idea, I wish I'd known, and you just feel bad, and you just like, you know, it took a very long time for me to just embrace what he said to me. And I was like, you know, I could really cry every time I would see him. I'd just be like, oh, I can't believe that, like, I'd done this to you. And it's not that you're doing anything bad, it's just like people who love you, it's very hard for them to be around you and consistently watch you drive yourself into the ground. You know what I mean? And they're stuck with a predicament of, you know, I know, or I feel that if I walk away, maybe the shock that walking away will give that person will help them to figure things out or to seek the help that they need. But then you have a fear that, you know, obviously you've the guilt of leaving someone, you've the guilt of you know, you've the fear of what if they move on without me, or, you know, whatever it might be. There's all these different elements that go into it, and ultimately the only thing that can save someone or that can help someone out of a dark place or making wrong decisions is themselves. That's the good and bad side of it. That's what happens. But
I definitely touched on it there, and I think it's so true, is the whole starting martial arts. Like, I know I do jiu-jitsu, you do jiu-jitsu as well.
Shaolin MMA.
Shaolin MMA. But it's amazing what it actually teaches you. I don't know, like, it's just, the jiu-jitsu is all about being like calm, collected, not losing your head, because if you lose your head, you're going to get choked out. You know, and I think obviously the more learned from it, the more you actually realise that. But also, I think the one thing that learning martial arts give you is a sense of confidence. Isn't like, so you're to hold your head up a little bit higher, knowing that, like, I don't want to hurt anyone, but I could be able to defend myself. And what do you think about that in this day and age for young women and stuff, that, like, you know, that I feel like, you know, a lot of them are like, oh, be nice to everyone, and, you know, as like the whole like in the school system and then in the college system, it's like, okay, be nice, be careful what you say, don't say anything mean to people.
Yeah.
But that's not a reality, you know.
No.
Like people are there are going to be physical confrontation, there's going to be verbal confrontation. What do you think it's necessary for a lot of young women and even young lads to get into martial arts and stuff? Or
yeah, I mean, like, again, I can only talk from personal experience, but I found that from a mental side, the security that jiu-jitsu gave me in terms of being able to tap someone out or to be dominant with someone or to have the upper hand on someone, that helped me heal a lot of like personal issues that I had about not feeling protected or not feeling safe, which was like something that I kind of carried on to my adult life and my childhood. And you know, it's sort of like being like de-layered, you know, as the more you train, the more you learn about the sport, the more confidence it gives you, and you have the ability then to let all the bullshit pass, I suppose. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what a lot of people say that happens. But in terms of the importance, I can't sit here and say every single child and every single girl, guy, whatever it is, they should be do martial arts because you know what I mean. But I mean, I would love that. I'd love to see jiu-jitsu and skills, most definitely. But I understand as well. Like I have so many female friends that when I tell them about jiu-jitsu or training or, you know, sparring or whatever it might be, they're like, I couldn't be that close to someone. They find it really intrusive, and like, you know, so there's different things like that. You have to be. From day one, I never had an issue with that. Do you know what I mean? So, but in terms of its importance, it's massively important. I mean, especially for women to be able to have a confidence to know, like, I don't walk at night on my own, right? I'm not an idiot, so I don't put myself into situations where I'm like, okay, there's a dark alley down here, I'm going to trot down here, you know, at 4 o'clock in the morning and like test my jiu-jitsu, you know. I've never been in a situation like that, and I would never ever do anything like that. But when, you know, there's times when if you are out and, you know, I still socialise a lot, but I don't drink that often, right? Yeah, I was out this weekend, I had a few, but normally I'd have 2 or 3, do you know what I mean? So I'm still some kind of have awareness, right? And I don't wear heels that often and stuff. So I always, if I am walking to get a cab or going somewhere to meet someone, you know, and say for instance there's a girl or a guy, I sort of just do a thing in my head where I'm like, right, if they were to grab you, like what you were able to have a sense of, I know what I'll do. And sparring in particular gives you a sort of you know, being comfortable in the uncomfortable and being able to like sort of be like a diamond in that, like you have a certain amount of pressure, I suppose, that like you can come through it or you can work through it. So that's what martial arts teaches you, is that like in that moment you can be like calm and consider the environment, and then you can get yourself out of that situation. No martial arts school will tell you that, you know, you should learn to spar so that you can do that on the street and that you can potentially hurt someone. That's not the way it works. It's get in, get out, and, you know, get yourself minimal hurt. Do you know what I mean? But for kids, it's definitely something I would recommend. If I ever did have kids, I'd definitely put them into jiu-jitsu, and I'd put them into Muay Thai as well, actually. Do you know what I mean? I put them into everything and hope that they gravitate towards one another. Exactly. Because I know a great example of it. Now, this is just a very like famous example, but she was last year. Matt Sarah was in the restaurant and was one guy, drunk guy in there, was getting pretty handsy with one of the waitresses and getting aggressive and stuff. And he's able to, like, obviously Matt Sarah's, like, if you know anything about MMA, he's a black belt, has his own gym in New York and veteran,
stuff. UFC Hall of Famer. But he was able just to subdue him, keep him down, and just wait till the security came, you know, and didn't even have to inflict any pain on him, you know. And obviously Matt Sarah striking and everything, like, but he just used jiu-jitsu just to control the situation and everything calm, and didn't have to hurt anyone. But it was, I think that's a prime example of where it could be used, you know, like if it ever did need to be used, that it's effective, you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. But, and like in those, like, people watch those videos and they're like, oh, I love that happened, I could take someone down. I mean, you don't, I mean, I I definitely don't want to ever be in a situation. I've never been in a street fight. You know what I mean? But I was actually joking with, obviously you met Craig Coakley before he left here. And I was walking to get food with him the other day, and I was like, I think I'm gonna fight soon. I think I'd like to fight Muay Thai. And then I was like, you know, totally like bantering him, and he was like, no, I'm not gonna let you fight. I was like, what? Why not? He's like, you're too delicate, you know. So like, although, and he does mean that in like a
a sexist way or anything like that. He means it in, you know, it takes a certain quality to be a fighter, to be a good fighter, to be on his level. You know what I mean? Not everyone can do what he does. Do you know what I mean?
No, most people think they can, but they just
exactly. Well, this is a definite thing. People, and a lot of people, you know, think that, especially when they start in some place like this gym, you know, that they see him being the best, and like, some people do come in and think that they can, you know, have any kind of standpoint or stand with him. It's just like he's the best in the world. Like, it's just not going to happen. But jiu-jitsu is a little bit easier, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you can spar men that are bigger than you, and you can, you know, get the upper hand, and then you can be getting choked, you know, so it's a lot softer. I mean, it's tough. It's like the gentle art. Like, I've definitely been injured more times in jiu-jitsu than I've ever been in Muay Thai, you know, but and I do spar the lads, but there's a kind of beauty and there's a necessity to all of them, I find. And I think that when I started training Muay Thai in here particularly, it definitely lent itself to jiu-jitsu and the competition jiu-jitsu when I do get the opportunity to compete, when work doesn't get in the way. So, you know, stuff like that is really good. It's a learning curve as well.
And then I know in the States it's starting to become more and more prevalent, because you've seen the likes of BJ Penn lately, sort of Australian order, Tony Ferguson, Australian order, and Matt Hughes the same. What is your thoughts and opinions on the whole CTE and then that kind of element of it that's not really, I don't think it's been brought to the forefront fully yet, you know, the whole CTE aspect. What's your kind of thoughts on it?
I mean, again, like those kind of conversations, I sort of like, not that I get nervous about them, but I just don't know enough information about them. I don't get punched in the head, you know what I mean? I get punched in the head maybe sparring, like, but it's not being punched in the head like you would in a fight, you know. I understand that there's like massive health safety implications that are kind of put in place for fighters today, especially over here, especially in Ireland with Safe MMA and IMA, and especially for the amateur side. You know, I think that definitely there needs to be a lot more, or a continued growth in the science of it and the research in it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, look, at the end of the day, no sport is safe.
Oh, absolutely not. No,
do you know what I mean? No sport is safe, and especially contact sports. And fighters in particular know the risk that they take when they go into the coaches do. You know, I think the only people who aren't really aware of it is the audience or the people who are buying the tickets, you know. Thankfully, the fatalities, especially over here, are minimal. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, we want them to be non-existent. We never want anyone to be hurt, especially, you know, long term. But again, it's about being smart, and it's about being sensible, and it's about choosing a good gym, it's about choosing a good coach, it's about being sensible when you train, not having an ego, not having to prove anything. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of filters back. I know it's sort of, you're talking about the top end of like thoughts on the actual process of it, but I think it's important to kind of level down and remember the sort of structure of you know, personal responsibility as well, I suppose.
No, I totally agree. And just I don't think
is that a terrible answer? Is that to answer your question? I honestly, I just don't know enough about it.
There is a lot of science. As in, like, it's still a very new topic. It's still being like widely researched. I don't know. I've always kind of looked into it because you hear in the rugby stuff. I was like, my dad never let me get into rugby when I was younger because he knew the head trauma and stuff. So he never let me go in anywhere near that. And then
I mean, again, nobody that does rugby come at me after this podcast release, but you know. For me, although I see people getting kicked in the head and being cut open with elbows every weekend, there's something about rugby that makes me even. It's something about charging, or American football, charging forward at full force to, you know, get the rugby ball or whatever it is out of. But I remember when I watched that Will Smith movie.
Concussion.
Concussion.
Yeah.
There's a scene in that movie where. He puts, spoiler alert, turn off the podcast for a couple of minutes if you
it's a couple years out now. I think
okay. But he's showing his wife, I think, about how his theory has all come from CT, and he puts, I think it's a piece of fruit or an apple or something in a water bottle, and then he puts a little bit of water in it, and he starts shaking it like this, and he's like, this is your brain, like this is essentially the fluid in your brain inside the skull, and he's moving like that, and then he's like shaking up the pace, and then he brings in the the ideal of the woodpecker or all these animals that are born with, like, you know, horns, or they're born with shock absorbers in their brains, and how that humans just do not possess this whatsoever, and how delicate the human skull is. After I watched that, I was like, I came down here, I was like, nobody even think about punching me in the head for at least 6 weeks. And the same with jiu-jitsu, I was like, nobody like chokes and stuff. I was like, oh god, you know, because they say that about jiu-jitsu, like with the collar chokes, for gi jiu-jitsu, you know, obviously your lapel chokes, like you have two hands onto the lapel and you're twisting the lapel in a certain way to cut the circulation off of the oxygen flow, which is obviously going to the brain. Now I have to say, I've never been choked unconscious in jiu-jitsu. Close to it, so you know, where I'm like, get out of this, I reckon I'll be okay, and then you're like, no, choke, you know. It's definitely something that I'm interested in. I'd love to learn more about, but as of right now, like I wouldn't be able to attack or defend it.
Which is fair, absolutely.
You know, without the proper knowledge or proper language.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's just the only thing I think it needs to be done is, obviously, I don't know if there even is the research out there, but just if kids are getting in, is that like, or people in general, any age group getting in, just going like, this is what you're signing up for. And as long as once people know what they're getting into, then it's fine, because I don't believe that there should be any governing body going like, you can't do this, you can't do that with your body. Like, it's your body, you can do whatever you want. If you're not harming anyone else, go do it. And I think martial arts is one of the best things you can do. And like, clearly you enjoy watching martial arts as well. Like, they're very enjoyable. And like, of course, when you're sitting there and there's a Francis Ngannou or someone going knocking someone out. But I definitely agree with the whole rugby and American football, as in I feel uncomfortable. Like, I watch MMA every weekend. I even watch their stories, but I watch it on BT Sport as well. But like, when someone gets knocked out, sometimes you're like, oh, that's rough. But then when you're seeing heavyweights, really, like 130 kilo guys running head first at each other, you're like,
it's sort of weird though, right? Because like, when I do think about, like, you know, watching rugby. I remember I actually went to a rugby match when I was, I don't know, I think like a boyfriend or something brought me to a rugby match, and I remember watching it, and one of the rugby players, well, it was an tackle or something, but when he was calling the ref or coach or whoever on the side, and then it was up on the screen that the bone had come out of his thumb, right? It literally had just like popped out, like when you finish a chicken wing, like it was like popped out, and he was just like, you know, and they were looking at it, and he's like, no, you have to come off, and he's like, what do I have to come off for? Wrap it up, you know? I was like, what is going on here? This is nuts. What was I saying? Yeah, but there's something about, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, you know, again, my friends say to me, how do you watch this crap? Like,
because you're on the outside of the ring, like, very, very close.
I remember there was actually a really good story. I was, I think it was Lara Byrne, who's like a really well-known referee over here, K1 and Muay Thai ref. And I was because I film, like, hanging off the ropes. Do you know what I mean? That's what I do when I'm working. Like, I'm literally, like, trapped around, even with the cameras or whatever. And I don't know what happened, but some guy just got absolutely sparked, like, right in front of me, and the next minute he just completely, like, folded, and I just literally kept the camera down, and I just didn't blink, didn't know nothing. And there's people screaming, oh jeez, you know. And after Larry just came into me, and he was just like, oh god, this is the funniest thing ever. Like, you didn't even flinch at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't even bother you. But I don't know what it is. And there's kind of like a beauty to it as well. You know, when you see someone get knocked out, like a really good knockout. There's like it's beautiful.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's artistic, and when you see someone, like, be able to hit a combination or head kick or a knee or an elbow, and it, like, you know, knocks somebody out, or they get a stoppage or a finish, I think you appreciate it so much more when you train. You realise how hard it is to dominate somebody else, especially someone who's at your same skill level, and someone who's, you know, training just as hard as you are. And then it's just such a wonderful sport. It's like, you know, I'm very emotional and passionate, and, like, you know, I get really, you know, involved in my job, what I do, and also the fighters that I work with, and it's a kind of like an emotional. The closest thing I can explain it to is like when I was growing up, and my dad would be like watching his Spurs and when he'd be watching Spurs play. And, you know, my dad's very reserved and quiet, and he's Sagittarian, you know, so he's like, you know, just very chill and just, and then there's like certain moments where he'd like, obviously really mad at certain things, but if he's watching football, he was just filled with emotion, filled with like, you know, just joy and like tense and, oh my God, no, we're jumping up, and, you know, and I used to find it kind of fascinating that I kind of like, you see this like parallel sort of, you know, side to him where I thought he was one way, and then I would see him watching football, or when I went with him, he used to bring me to watch football, you know. So I think maybe somewhere inside that has lent itself to kind of what I do now, and the joy and the excitement that I get off of like a fight night. And I have no differentiation between like a kids show and like something that's on the Tree Arena or the National Basketball Arena or whatever it is. I just love it. I'm obsessed with it. Like, it's obsessed, I suppose is the good word. Healthy obsession.
And then would you just exclusively watch, obviously you're going to a lot of the local events, obviously in Ireland, UK, and then you've talked earlier on about expansion into Europe and stuff and America. Have you signed, and is anything moving in that direction?
There's nothing I can say. I promise I'll let you know when I do, but it's stuff on the table at the moment. But I mean, I think the UK was a huge opportunity for us. Brian Calder, who's the promoter of UK, you know, he had us come over, especially when Craig fought last year, a year and a half ago, and you know, Craig was saying like, oh, you should get in touch with him and you should like tell him what you do, and I think he'd really be into you coming over and covering the show. So we got in touch, and you know, I went over and met him. He couldn't have been nicer. He was like, whatever you do it and go for it, you know. And they're very relaxed as a promotion in terms of you can be ringside. Like some promotions that are quite big will say like, you can't be at the cage, you can't be here, you can only go this way. But he definitely respected that. Part of the beauty of MMA Connect TV and how it works so well is me being able to have access everywhere that I need to go. I'm within limits. I'm not an idiot, so I train myself so I know that I can't be with a camera hanging in the ring. I know that I can't be holding the ring, because especially in Muay Thai, if somebody's going to use the ring to, you know, to in the clinch or whatever it is. But he was just really respectful. He was just like, you know, you do whatever you do. I trust that you know what you're doing, so go for it. And, you know, from then we established like a good relationship, you know what I mean, where he was like, right, come back, and I need you to come back and do the next show and keep coming back. And so that was the first, when that happened the first time, it was then that UK promoters were like, oh, so you do outside of Ireland, brilliant, how do we get you over here? So what I'm figuring out at the moment is obviously I have bookings for shows in Ireland, and you know, you have to be loyal to the promoters who've had my back from day one that need to rebook me. So I'm not going to say like, okay, I've got this show in the UK that's just come through with this new promoter, I'm going to cancel you, but you know, hopefully you keep ringing me in or whatever. So it's just about planning and being strategic on how to work it. But that's the next thing, America and Europe, more documentaries, more sort of going into the journey of the fighter, of the promoter, of the event, of, you know, getting you to the viewer to see what exactly goes into putting a show together.
Exciting times ahead. Just one question, I want to start introducing this to all at the end of the podcast. So my kind of whole channel is based off like
don't ask me about Brexit. I don't understand it.
Don't worry. My whole channel is like getting out of comfort zone and getting people just to start moving towards what they want to do, because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that someday, or I can't do this because I don't have that. Like, I'm recording this on my phone, and I bought a mic off just over months of just kind of working and stuff, you know, like this very slow process of building this. But what would your advice be to someone that's starting or getting after the dreams, or like, you know, you've done it twice, you've done your music, and then now you're working with your MMA Connect TV. What advice would you give to people?
People ask me this all the time, and I get about 100 messages a month of people saying like, I want to do this, I want to try this, what can I do, how can I get started, like what do there was nobody, when I decided to do this, there was nobody that I could go to and ask for advice. I just had to do it. I just had to figure it out, turn up, make mistakes. That's the important thing. Make a lot of mistakes. I still make mistakes. I still make the wrong decision. I still make the wrong call on certain things. But you have to just do it. You know, people say to me, I want to start doing interviews, but I don't. If you want to start doing interviews, then get some kind of camera, or so you can even use like your goddamn social media or like the internet or Instagram or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You just have to be creative and driven and just go after whatever it is that you want to do. And I think a big part of youth culture, especially today, is that, you know, you're how old are you? 17. Truth. You're at a stage where a lot of, you know, not to be generalizing, but they need something in order to do something. Yeah. And that's not how I got where I was. I went at nothing to make sure that even with music, I was like, had a vision, had a goal, and worked towards that. And you just, you get setbacks along the way. And if you're going to be a person that has a goal and you want to achieve something, and something happens that it doesn't go your way, or you get bad news, or something falls through, and it throws you off track, then you're never going to be successful. There's always a way. You have to just have a goal, have an ideal success story, or whatever that is for you, and you just have to stop at nothing to just keep going. Okay. And make sure not to step on people in the way. That's an important thing, because I think a lot of people, when they get a certain level of success, or if things go their way and the ego gets involved, you know, people tend to not want to they kind of forget, I suppose, how difficult it was for them when they started out. And I think it's important to remember, you know, there's a really good line that, you know, people that you meet on your way up, you'll meet them on your way down. So it's important to be very humble and polite, and not take shit from people, but there's a way to do business, I suppose. So you certainly learn that, and I certainly learned that. When I started out, it was like for fun, it was to just try something new, and then when I got serious about it, I had to learn that there's a business side, and then there's a, you know, Lydia Des Dolles from MMA Connect TV side. So when I go into business meetings, or when I go into whatever, you know, they have to meet up. They
of course.
have to join together.
No, thank you so much for
doing this.
Thank
you so much. No problem.
Just for anyone watching, I'll include her Instagram and everything, MMA Connect TV, and Lydia Des Dolles on Instagram, but I'll include them down below. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to this, and
hit subscribe on MMA Connect TV.
Of course. I like that as well. But we'll see you next month. Good night, Liv.